2,000 guests and crew board the Destiny in Miami, Florida, and become Captain Francola's responsibility. While sun-seeking guests rev up for 7 days on the Caribbean, our good captain maneuvers this huge vessel through a crowded channel with controls that seem more appropriate for a kid's video game than supersized cruising. They use thrusters to push the ship sideways instead of using a tugboat. There are 3 thrusters on the bow and 3 on the stern. The thrusters help make the ship handle like a sports car in heavy traffic. That is, a sports car that takes a little over a mile to stop once it gets into gear.
You'll take a little bit of time to get acquainted with a different power, different side, but it's not that much of a difference.
A lifetime at sea and a state-of-the-art bridge makes a cruise with Captain Francola look like a Sunday drive. From his vantage point, he calmly oversees the operations of a floating city. The blueprint for this city include 12 decks above the waterline for passengers to eat, sleep, and be pampered. There are 2 more decks below for storage and machinery. Safety, food, water, power, and sewage. Everything a self-contained community could need to thrive and survive is here. Precise planning and execution are required to sail this super cruiser. But the reason this giant exists is to provide the ultimate party spot at sea.
It's got the largest theatre at sea, the most spectacular shows at sea, 14 different bars and lounges, alternative dining, massive swimming pools, a huge slide, and great stuff.
The theater rises 3 decks and holds over 1,500 people. The ship's entrance houses an atrium rotunda that goes up 9 decks and is the starting point for many of the guest services. And for those who feel lucky, there is a huge casino. Those who feel bloated, a 2-story fitness center. And for those who aren't bloated, well, they aren't on board, because if you're gonna cruise, you're gonna eat. Passengers and crew eat over $250,000 worth of food on the Destiny during a week-long cruise.
Our guests will consume 10,000 pounds of beef, 8,000 pounds of poultry, 6,000 pounds of seafood, 1,400 pounds of flour, 1,100 gallons of ice cream, and my favorite, a whopping 48,000 eggs.
Ian Smith oversees the ordering and inventory of this floating land of plenty. And it is his job to find a place to store the food that feeds the masses.
It's one cold room after another. I mean, I've never seen anything quite like it. They say it's the biggest floating object ever, this ship. The storerooms really is the hub of the ship.
These storage areas carry enough fish, fruit, and fries to keep everyone on board fat and happy for almost 2 weeks without setting foot on land. Weight gain and potato peelings aren't the only byproducts of a week at sea.
We have a sewage treatment plant. All the sewage from the guest bathrooms, any of the restrooms, any water that goes down any of the drains goes into our water treatment plant. It's a 3-phase system. It's very similar to what you would have back home.
All the refuse created on board is disposed of quickly and efficiently.
It's really like a floating city. You know, we take care of all our waste ourselves. We have a waste management plant. We take care of all the garbage ourselves. We have a garbage room where we incinerate all the garbage. We don't dump anything overboard. We're totally environmentally conscious.
You can get mighty thirsty looking at all that salt water, but providing fresh water on board is no easy task. Fortunately, the Destiny's purifiers and evaporators can produce up to 2,000 tons of fresh water a day, right from the sea.
We used to say that the bridge is the brain, but we are the heart of the ship. All the life of the ship starts from here.
And the heart of this ship beats 2 decks below sea level. That's where 6 engines crank out 85,000 horsepower. These horses feed 6 gigantic generators that run everything on board, from the propulsion to the air conditioning to the bridge's navigation equipment. Without this power, the Destiny is little more than a fancy raft, but with enough power to run a city of 60,000 people, she's a powerhouse on the high seas. That kind of power doesn't come cheap. Every 2 weeks, this baby gobbles up 8 million gallons of fuel. At St. Croix, the fuel-hungry Destiny dwarfs this barge standing by to feed the tanks.
Yeah, you're not correct.
6 hours later, the ship's tanks are topped off with 430,000 gallons of fuel.
Yeah, about 9 gallons per second.
That's how much fuel this ship burns. In your car, that would be the equivalent of moving about 50 feet on a tank full of gas. Could make for a long commute. Running out of fuel or breaking down in the middle of the ocean would be a bad thing. So to keep one of the biggest man-made moving objects operating smoothly, engineers monitor over 9,000 checkpoints. Global positioning satellites pinpoint the ship's position at all times. High-tech radar and communications guide the ship around storms. Navigating these days takes more than a compass. When the seas do get rough, the Destiny's special stabilizers kick in to soften the motion of the ocean.
A lot of people say they're going to get seasick.
The stabilizers come out of the ship like airplane wings. They calculate the speed of the ship and the force of the waves, and then give the opposite force to counteract the momentum of the wave. Overall, this means a smoother ride. Effortlessly rolling through the waves at the end of the week, the Destiny heads back to Miami. But home port Sunday is anything but a day of rest for the crew of 1200. It's turnaround day. 3,000 tanned and tired passengers are ready to disembark while the crew gears up for another week at sea.
We arrive in Miami around 7 in the morning while we're in the process of taking everybody else's luggage ashore and getting the guests to go through customs. Down on the quayside, you will see the huge 18-wheelers bringing on all our food, all the beer, all the sodas, the provisions.
And in less than 8 hours, a fresh batch of cruise-bound passengers climb aboard for a stay in this luxury liner hotel. Captain Francola turns the bow of this floating city toward the Atlantic, setting course for tropical ports of call. On the bridge, all attention is again on maneuvering this $400 million, 100,000 tons of fun through the chute. For Captain Francola, it's just another Sunday drive in his favorite passenger vehicle, the Carnival Destiny.